Welcome back to Peak English. If you look at the sky tonight, you might see a star moving across the darkness. But it isn't a star. It is a satellite, built by one man's company. If you look at the highway, you will see cars that make no sound, running on electricity built by that same man's company. If you look at the news, you see his face, the richest man in the world, the Iron Man, the genius, the madman. We think we know Elon Musk. We see the billions of dollars. We see the tweets. We see the confidence. But what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the water, there is a mountain of pain. There is a history of violence. There are nights of terrifying loneliness. Most people think success is a straight line. They think you have a good idea, you work hard, and you become rich. This story will prove that idea is a lie. This is not a story about money. If you are here for money, please leave. This is a story about the capacity of the human soul to endure suffering. To understand the man who wants to take us to Mars, we cannot start with the rockets. We cannot start with the electric cars. We have to go back. Back to a dark staircase in South Africa. Back to a boy who was so small and so quiet that the world tried to crush him before he could even speak. Get comfortable. Take a deep breath. Because for the next hour, we are not just learning English. We are going to live inside the mind of the most ambitious human being on the planet. This is the full, untold story of Elon Musk. Pretoria, South Africa. 1971. The world was a different place. Apartheid was tearing the country apart. Violence was in the air, and in a large house in the suburbs, a boy was born. Elon Reeve Musk. From the very beginning, Elon was different. As a toddler, he would drift away. His eyes would glaze over. His parents would call his name, Elon, Elon? But he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't turn his head. He wouldn't blink. His mother, May, and his father, Errol, were terrified. They thought their son was deaf. They took him to doctors. They ran tests. They even removed his adenoids, thinking it would help him hear. But Elon wasn't deaf. He was somewhere else. He later explained that his brain worked like a graphics card in a computer. He could see images in his mind with perfect clarity. He could rotate them. He could take them apart. He was building engines, designing structures, and solving problems in his head. The real world, the world of talking and eating and sleeping, was just a distraction. But the real world would not leave him alone. Elon's home life was complicated. His parents divorced when he was young. Elon made a choice he would regret for the rest of his life. He felt sorry for his father, Errol. His father seemed lonely, so Elon decided to move in with him. It was a mistake. Elon rarely speaks about the details, but he has called his father a terrible human being. He said, "You have no idea. Almost every evil thing you can possibly think of, he has done." Imagine a young boy living in a big house with a man who played psychological mind games, a man who told him he was worthless, a man who made him doubt his own sanity. Elon didn't have a safe harbor at home, so he looked for safety at school, but he didn't find it there either. Elon was the youngest in his class. He was small for his age. He was socially awkward. He corrected people when they were wrong. He used big words. In the rough, aggressive culture of white South Africa, this made him a target. The bullying was not just name-calling. It was a hunt. There is a famous story, one that haunts Elon to this day. He was sitting at the top of a concrete staircase, eating a sandwich. Suddenly, a group of boys appeared behind him. They didn't just push him. They kicked him in the head. They threw him down the stairs. Bang, bang, bang. When he landed at the bottom, crumpled in a heap of pain, they didn't stop. They jumped on him. They beat him until his face was a swollen mask of blood. They beat him until he blacked out. Elon woke up in the hospital. His nose was broken. His eyes were swollen shut. For years afterward, he had trouble breathing. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the fear. Elon said, "I was almost beaten to death." For years, he lived in a state of constant terror. He would hide in the library during recess. He learned to check corners before walking down a hall. He learned that the world was a dangerous, violent place. So he escaped, not with his body, but with his mind. He read. He consumed books like oxygen. By the time he was 9 years old, he had read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. He remembered everything. He read comic books about heroes saving the world. He read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which taught him a philosophy that would guide his life. The hardest part is asking the right question. He realized that Earth was a small, fragile candle in a dark universe, and he decided, sitting alone in his room, that his purpose was to protect that candle. At age 17, he knew he had to leave. South Africa was a cage. The United States of America was the destination. It was where the future was being built. Against his father's wishes, with barely any money, he packed a backpack. He flew to Canada, a stepping stone to America. He was 17. He was alone. He had no friends. He had no home. But for the first time in his life, he was free. Freedom has a price. And for Elon Musk in Canada, the price was poverty. He didn't arrive as a rich kid. He arrived as a laborer. He traveled across Canada, taking any job he could find to buy food. One of his jobs was at a lumber mill in British Columbia. His task? Cleaning the boiler room. Imagine a room so hot that you have to wear a special protective suit. If you stay in there for more than 30 minutes, you die from heat stroke. Elon had to crawl into small tunnels, shoveling hot sand and smoking residue. It was dangerous. It was filthy. It was exhausting. "I have a high tolerance for pain," Elon would later say. He wasn't talking about emotional pain this time. He was talking about the ability to work until your body breaks. Eventually, he made his way to college, first Queen's University in Canada, and then the dream, the University of Pennsylvania in the USA. Elon studied two things, physics and economics. Why? Physics taught him how the universe works. It taught him first principles thinking, breaking a problem down to its atomic truths. Economics taught him how money works. It taught him that a great invention is useless if you cannot afford to build it. He was a machine. He didn't party. He didn't relax. He and his roommate turned their house into a nightclub on weekends, charging students $5 for entry. Elon didn't drink the alcohol. He stood at the door, collecting the money, sober, calculating his profit. It was 1995. The internet was exploding. Elon saw a wave coming, a wave that would change humanity. He applied for a job at Netscape, the Google of that time. He sat in the lobby, too shy to speak to anyone, waiting for an interview that never happened. So he did what he always does. He decided to do it himself. He and his brother Kimball started a company called Zip2. They had $2,000 from their father, a small investment, not the millions people claim. They rented a tiny office in Palo Alto. They couldn't afford an apartment. They couldn't afford 2 cars. They couldn't even afford a shower. Elon slept on a beanbag next to his desk. He showered at the YMCA, a local community gym. He coded at night. The website was up during the day. I worked 7 days a week, all my waking hours, Elon said. If you wanted to date Elon Musk in 1995, you had to come to the office and watch him type. Zip2 was a digital map. It showed people where businesses were. It was boring by today's standards, but in 1995 it was magic. 4 years later, the computer giant Compaq bought Zip2. The price? $307 million. Elon's share? $22 million. He was 27 years old, a multimillionaire. He bought a McLaren F1, the fastest car in the world. CNN came to film him. He looked like the golden boy of Silicon Valley. But Elon wasn't satisfied. He looked at the banking system. He saw it was slow, stupid, and outdated. Sending money took days. Why couldn't it be instant, like an email? He took his millions, almost all of them, and started XCOM. This company would become PayPal. But this chapter of his life wasn't just about success. It was about betrayal. Elon was the CEO. He pushed his team hard. Too hard. He fought with his partners. He wanted to move the servers to Microsoft. They wanted Unix. It sounds like a small technical detail, but it caused a civil war. In the year 2000, Elon married his college sweetheart, Justine. They planned a honeymoon to Australia. The Olympics were happening. It was supposed to be a time of joy. Elon got on the plane. As the plane was flying over the Pacific Ocean, his board of directors held a secret meeting. They voted to fire him. When Elon landed in Australia, he checked his phone. He was no longer the CEO. He had been replaced by Peter Thiel. Imagine the shock. The company you built. The name you chose. Taken away from you while you were in the air. Helpless. Most men would have sued. Most men would have burned the company down out of anger. Elon didn't. He swallowed his pride. He advised the new team. He kept his shares. 2 years later, eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Elon walked away with $180 million. He was now richer than he ever imagined. But he was also jobless, and he was about to face a tragedy that money couldn't fix. While on vacation in Africa, Elon contracted a severe form of malaria. He almost died. He lost 45 pounds. He was weak, lying in a hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. It was a reminder of his mortality. "I came very close to dying," he said. "It teaches you that you don't have forever." He recovered, and he decided that he wasn't going to build another internet company. He wasn't going to make a game or a social media app. He looked up at the stars. He looked at the smog-filled cities. And he decided to risk everything. In 2002, Elon Musk went to Russia. He wanted to buy an ICBM, a rocket used for nuclear war. He didn't want the warhead, he just wanted the rocket. He wanted to send a greenhouse to Mars to inspire people. He walked into a meeting with Russian aerospace engineers. The room was heavy with cigarette smoke. Vodka flowed freely. The Russians looked at this young American boy. They saw his casual clothes. They saw his excitement. And they laughed. One of the Russian chief designers looked at Elon with disgust. He spat on Elon's shoes. "No," they said. "You cannot buy our rocket. Go home, little boy." They offered him a rocket for $8 million. Elon thought it was too expensive. They laughed again. "Oh, you don't have the money?" Huh. Elon was humiliated. He was furious. On the flight back to America, while his partners were drinking and complaining, Elon was typing on his laptop. He pulled up a spreadsheet. He used his physics knowledge. He calculated the cost of the metal, the fuel, the oxygen, the labor. He turned to his friends and said, "Hey guys, I think we can build the rocket ourselves." His friends thought he was crazy. "Elon," they said, "you are an internet guy. You know nothing about rockets. You will lose all your money." But Elon had first principles. He knew the raw materials were cheap. The problem was the process. He founded SpaceX. His goal was ridiculous: reduce the cost of space travel by 100 times, make humanity a multi-planetary species. He poured 100 million of his own money into it. At the same time, he met a couple of engineers who had an idea for an electric car. The company was called Tesla Motors. In 2004, electric cars were a joke. They were slow golf carts. They were ugly. The big car companies, General Motors, Ford, Toyota, said electric cars were impossible. They said the battery technology wasn't there. Elon didn't care. He invested millions into Tesla. He became the chairman. So now, he had two companies. SpaceX, trying to do what only nations like the USA and Russia had done. Tesla, trying to do what no new car company had done in 50 years. It was a suicide mission. For the first few years, it was hard, but exciting. They were building the first Tesla car, the Roadster. They were building the first SpaceX rocket, the Falcon 1. But reality hits hard. Rocket science is not like computer programming. If you have a bug in your code, you fix it and redeploy. If you have a bug in a rocket, it explodes. In 2006, SpaceX launches Falcon 1. 30 seconds after liftoff, boom, the engine catches fire. The rocket falls into the ocean. Millions of dollars gone in seconds. In 2007, SpaceX launches again. The rocket flies high. It looks good. The team is cheering. And then, the engine shuts down too early. The rocket spins out of control. Boom. Meanwhile, at Tesla, things were a disaster. The Roadster was supposed to cost $50,000 to build. It was actually costing $145,000. They were losing money on every single car. Elon was furious. He fired the CEO. He took over as CEO himself. He began sleeping at the factory. He was micromanaging every screw, every bolt, every battery cell. But the money was running out. And then came the year that almost killed him. In 2008, the year the world broke. The global financial system collapsed. Banks were failing. People were losing their homes. Investment money dried up completely. For Elon Musk, it was the perfect storm. Tesla was out of cash. They couldn't pay their employees. SpaceX had failed twice. They had money for one more launch, just one. And his personal life imploded. Elon and his wife, Justine, divorced. It was messy. It was public. The press loved it. Elon was living in a borrowed house. His hundreds of millions from PayPal? Gone. Invested in exploding rockets and failing cars? He was losing weight. His eyes were sunken. He developed a habit of grinding his teeth in his sleep so hard that he needed surgery. He later said, "I remember waking up the Sunday before Christmas in 2008 and thinking, man, I never thought I was someone who could have a nervous breakdown. But I felt like I was coming very close." He had a choice that would define his legacy. He had about $30 million left, his last personal savings. He could keep the money and retire, or he could save his companies. But here was the cruelty of the situation. He didn't have enough money for both. If he put the money into SpaceX, Tesla would die. If he put the money into Tesla, SpaceX would die. If he split the money, both would probably die. It was like having two children and being told you have to choose which one survives, he said. He decided to split the money. He decided to risk going to zero. In August 2008, SpaceX launch number 3. This was critical. The rocket went up. It cleared the first stage. It looked perfect. The team was screaming with joy. And then, a tiny mistake. The 2 stages of the rocket bumped into each other during separation. Boom! Elon walked into the control room. The engineers were crying. Grown men were sobbing over their consoles. They had worked for 6 years. They had given everything. And it was gone. Elon stood up. He looked at his defeated team. He didn't scream. He didn't quit. He said, "For my part, I will never give up. I mean never." He scraped together every last penny. He borrowed money from friends to pay rent. He convinced investors to give a tiny bit more. They had parts for one more rocket. Flight 4, in September 28, 2008, the Falcon 1 stood on the launch pad on a small island in the Pacific. If this failed, SpaceX was dead. Elon was bankrupt. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The engines ignited. The rocket lifted off. The first stage separated. Please don't hit, please don't hit. It separated cleanly. The second stage ignited. It reached orbit. It worked, Elon Musk cried. Not tears of joy, but tears of relief. Because of that success, NASA called. They offered a $1.5 billion contract to resupply the space station. SpaceX was saved. But Tesla was still dying. It was Christmas Eve in 2008. Tesla had hours of cash left. If they didn't close a funding round by 6 p.m., payroll would bounce. The company would declare bankruptcy the next morning. Elon was on the phone, begging investors, lying about his confidence, putting his last remaining dollars on the table. At the very last hour, the deal closed. Tesla was saved. Elon Musk had stared into the abyss, and he blinked, but he didn't fall. After 2008, the narrative changed. Elon didn't just survive, he conquered. Tesla released the Model S. Critics said, "You can't make a good electric car." The Model S won Motor Trend's Car of the Year. It received the highest safety rating in history. It broke the testing machine because it was so strong. It proved that an electric car didn't have to be a golf cart. It could be a Ferrari. SpaceX began launching the Falcon 9, but Elon had a crazier idea. "Why do we throw rockets away?" he asked. "Imagine if you flew a Boeing 747 from New York to London and then crashed it into the ocean. A ticket would cost millions. But if you reuse the plane, a ticket costs $500. He wanted to land a rocket, vertical landing, like a pencil balancing on a finger. Everyone said it was impossible. The physics were too hard. They tried. Crash, crash, explosion, tip over. But Elon treated failure as data. Every explosion taught them something. In December 2015, the Falcon 9 launched. It delivered satellites to space. Then, the booster turned around. It fell back to Earth, guided by grid fins. Fire ignited from the bottom. It slowed down. And gently, softly, it touched the ground. It was the first time in human history an orbital rocket had landed. Elon Musk had done the impossible, but the pain wasn't over. In 2018, Tesla faced production hell. They were trying to build the Model 3, the car for the masses. The factory was broken. The robots weren't working. Elon moved back into the factory. He didn't go home for days. He slept under his desk. He wore the same clothes. He smelled like dust and sweat. He wanted his employees to see that their leader was working harder than they were. "I wanted my pain to be greater than anyone else's," he said. They built a giant tent in the parking lot to build cars because the building was full. They defied the odds again. The Model 3 became the best-selling luxury car in the world. Elon Musk became the richest man on Earth. So, how does he do it? Is he smarter than everyone else? Maybe. But the secret isn't IQ, it's psychology. There are 3 keys to the Musk mindset that you can apply to your life right now. 1. First principles thinking. Most people think by analogy. We do things because other people do them. I will teach English this way because that's how schools do it. Elon thinks by physics. He boils things down to the truth. What is a rocket made of? Aluminum, titanium, copper? What is the cost of those metals on the market? 2% of the rocket cost. So why do rockets cost so much? Because people are inefficient. Don't copy, deconstruct. 2. The threshold of pain. Elon famously said, "Being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss." He doesn't run away from suffering. He accepts it as the price of admission. When you are learning English, it is painful to feel stupid. It is painful to not understand. Elon teaches us, eat the glass. The pain means you are growing. 3. Optimism as a weapon. Elon is late on every deadline. He promises things that seem impossible, but he says, "I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right." If you don't believe you can go to Mars, you will never even build a rocket. If you don't believe you can speak fluent English, you will never even open the book. Today, Elon Musk is building Starship, the biggest flying object ever made by humans. It is designed to take 100 people to Mars at a time. He is also connecting brains to computers with Neuralink. He is building tunnels with the Boring Company. He bought Twitter to fight for what he believes is free speech, making half the world hate him and half the world love him. He is not a perfect man. He is messy. He is controversial. He can be cruel on Twitter. He is a workaholic who has sacrificed his peace for his ambition. But remember the boy on the stairs. The boy who was beaten until he couldn't see. The boy who was told he was deaf. The boy who read the encyclopedia alone in a room because he had no friends. That boy didn't let the world define him. He defined the world. He teaches us that the walls around us are paper. You can punch through them. He teaches us that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. So here's the question for you. You don't have to go to Mars. You don't have to build an electric car. But what is your moonshot? What is the dream you are too scared to say out loud? Maybe it's speaking English fluently. Maybe it's moving to a new country. Maybe it's starting a bakery. Whatever it is, remember Elon. Remember the exploding rockets. Remember the nights on the factory floor. And remember that the only true failure is giving up. This is the story of the real Iron Man. But the next chapter is yours. Thank you for watching Peak English. If this story ignited a fire in you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that don't just teach you English, but teach you how to live. Dream big, work hard, and never, ever give up. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Elon Musk.